Hello and welcome back to Dickin' Around Outdoors. It's good to see you again. Thank you for all of you who have subscribed. And for those of you who haven't, if you enjoy the content, please do so. Hit the subscribe button below. It does help us produce more of these videos, so we look forward to having you join us. Today, I'm excited. We're starting a new series. This series is called Classic Camping Cuisine. We're going to focus on the types of food that we would have made in the days of yore, back when I was a Boy Scout in the 70s. So what does that mean? Well, back then we didn't have all the refrigeration and great coolers that we had today, and you may have been out for a longer period, so you weren't restocking. So we focused on shelf-stable items primarily, and those fruits and vegetables that didn't rot right away if left unrefrigerated. Today, we are going to make a classic hamburger steak Salisbury style in a Dutch oven. We're using the 10-quart shallow Dutch oven, and we are going to combine that with instant Wisconsin cheese mashed potatoes. And as you'll see in this video, we are not using a lot of fresh ingredients, but I will say that the final product is quite tasty. So stick around and watch as we make hamburger steak Salisbury style. As always, with Dutch oven cooking and grilling for that matter, the first order of business is to get the charcoal started to give it time to ash over well. So we have started the charcoal here. Today we're using a fold flat charcoal chimney that I picked up on Amazon. You can find all sorts of these on Amazon. Work pretty well. They fold flat and they're quite easy to bring along with you. While the charcoal started, I thought I'd walk you through the ingredients for today's classic recipe. To start off, we have 8 ounces of ground bison. Feel free to substitute ground beef. Just don't use one that has too much fat in it. Call it 85% lean. Otherwise, your final gravy will be quite greasy. And a 1/4 cup of milk. Those are the only 2 items in the recipe that need refrigeration. The other items are saltine crackers, a jar of beef gravy. We've already mixed 1 teaspoon of granulated onion and 1 teaspoon of dried parsley in this jar. We have a small can of mushrooms, 2 tablespoons of ketchup mixed with 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire, our salt and pepper, and we have Pam for the Dutch oven. Now, in other videos, I've told you that I prefer Crisco in my Dutch ovens, and I do when I'm baking. For something like this that's cooking, I think Pam is fine. We're going to cook at 350, so I would use Pam in this case. The other item that we're making for the side dish is the Idahoan Wisconsin cheddar mashed potatoes. So clearly these don't need refrigeration, and all they need is water. The first step in the recipe, we have crushed up 14 of the saltines. We're going to mix that in with the bison. We're also going to add in the granulated onion and the parsley, as well as the milk. And we're going to mix that up good. Once you have the beef and dry ingredients mixed in with the milk, you just form it into patties. So that it worked out to 4 patties. The next step is we are just going to mix up the gravy components. And I did drain the mushrooms. Going to give this a stir and just pour it over top of the patties. And here we go. This is ready to go onto the coals. All right, so we are cooking today at 350. Now the cardinal rule, or rule of thumb if you will, for Dutch ovens is for 350 degrees, you take the diameter of the oven, double that. So in this case, we'll have 20. Do 1/3 on the bottom and 2/3 on top. So I'm going to put 6 on the bottom and the rest on the top. And since we are cooking, this will cook for an hour. I'm going to use a trivet to keep the bottom from getting too hot as we cook. And this trivet is basically just the lid holder, lid stand for that Lodge makes. I'm using it as a trivet today. And since we are cooking for an hour, I am going to plan on starting another batch of charcoal, because this charcoal will normally cook for 40 minutes or so, I'm guessing, before you have to replace it. And also remember that as you cook in a Dutch oven, you need to rotate the lid and the base from time to time in order to make sure that you don't get hot spots. And we are gusty today, so it may take a little bit more than an hour, but that's what we're going to target. We are now at the 40-minute mark, and as I've mentioned, we are now in need of replacing the charcoal. It has burned down quite a bit. We did rotate the pan, if you recall. You need to rotate the pan to ensure even heating over the course of the cook. So we rotated this pan twice, one at 15 minutes, one at 30. We rotated the base clockwise a quarter turn and the lid counterclockwise a quarter turn. We do have a new chimney full of charcoal ready to go. So as you're cooking, don't forget to plan ahead and start your charcoal so that it's ready in time to replace the charcoal that burns down. So we're going to go ahead and replace the charcoal. Our hamburger steak Salisbury style is pretty much done. It's on its final legs. So we have reduced the number of coals just to keep it warm at this point. And we're going to start the potatoes. All right, in order to do the potatoes, we're going to go ahead and use the propane stove. So we're going to heat 2 cups of water to a boil. For this, we're going to use the Banks Fry Bake Deep Alpine Pan. And we will use the lid, help it boil quicker. All right, it's been about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. We've got a nice boiling water. Remove the lid, and all you do is add the contents of the package. Stir it up to make sure all the potatoes get wet. And let it sit for 1 minute. I don't think it could get any easier than that. If you have not seen my video on the Banks Fry Bake pans, I encourage you to check that out. The pliers, since the Banks Fry Bake pans do not come with a handle, you use the pliers that they've designed for the pans that also effectively work for the lid. So we're going to let those potatoes sit for a minute. Let's go check out the hamburger steaks. Okay, the hamburger steaks are done. And I really wish you could smell this. It smells fantastic. So we've got the hamburger steaks. We've got a nice gravy with mushrooms. We've got mashed potatoes. How simple was this recipe? And how good does that look? So let's dish some of this up. And one thing, notice how easily this comes up. Well-seasoned cast iron is not non-stick in the sense of Teflon, but man, when you get it seasoned right, it clearly is very non-stick. These did not stick at all. Now let's grab some potatoes. So I am saying this is an awesome classic camping cuisine meal. As you saw, it was incredibly easy to make. It used ingredients that were shelf stable for the most part. You didn't need a lot of refrigeration or cooler space to make this. And I will admit, it is not health food. It was never designed to be health food. As always, thank you for joining me. For those of you who have subscribed, thank you very much. For those of you who like the content and want to see more, please subscribe below. Please share this with anyone that you think might find it interesting. I am going to give this a try. That is so good, and that is so easy to make. I hope you try this recipe. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Thanks again for joining me. Take care.